Look like he's. Can you hear me now, Mr. Montoya? Okay. We are at 1 o'clock, which means it's time to proceed. My name is Paul Biederman. I'm the chair of this commission, board, I should say. And with me on the board are two more members. Ms. Beninado, you can sit down for the moment because you're doing a little introduction. Thank you. We're going to be Justin Miller is our former board chair and currently a member of the board, and Jamie Sullivan, I'm sorry, Jamie Sullivan, I just think of you as Jamie, is a member of the board. We have a total of 5 sitting members of the board. 2 of them, we have a 7-member board, but 2 have resigned. And so we have 3 of those 5 members are here. That is our quorum. And I'm going to introduce the staff. So we have Erica Quintana from the clerk's office, Xavier Vigil, who's from the clerk's office, who are both very involved in this effort and in working with the ethics board. And we have Stephen Ross is the attorney for the board. He's not a city attorney, he's on contract because the city attorney feels there's a conflict of interest when elected officials are involved. So we have Mr. Montoya online. Anybody else with you, Mr. Montoya?
I think Joan Cato is in the lobby. I don't think she's been admitted yet.
Admitted? Nobody's keeping her out.
Okay, she said that she was waiting to be let in the call.
There's 2 doors. Have you? Oh, online. I'm sorry. Okay, so can we admit her?
I just let her in.
Okay,
Thank you.
she's just been admitted. Okay, and we have the complainant is Ms. Beninado, who is sitting here, and I don't know who you are. Are you a witness? Okay, Ms. Romero is a witness. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Rivera. Now I want to go over some basics here, particularly because I can see that have seen that Mr. Montoya does not have an attorney, which is his privilege, but it's been something of a problem because there have been some issues that he hasn't understood. So I want to be sure we understand how this proceeding works. And this is a hearing brought at the request of Ms. Beninado, Dr. Beninado, sorry, who is the complainant against Mr. Montoya, who is the respondent. And the complainant asked the board to rule that the respondent violated a number of campaign rules in the election in November, conducted in November of last year. And to the extent that the board decides that he did, then the question we must address is what penalty, if any, should the board impose?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Are we jumping straight to that item or did you want to go through the agenda?
I want to go through the entire. Right.
I was just wondering if we were going to do call to order and roll call.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, let's do that first. Let's get those out of the way. We have a few routine items we do in the course of any proceeding, as Mr. Miller has reminded me most appropriately.
Annoyingly.
Okay, what happened? Yeah. So what have I done to the agenda? There's so much paper. Anyway, thank you. So the first item on the agenda is a call to order. I've done that. Roll call, please.
Member Amer. Member Black. Member Miller.
Here.
Member Sullivan.
Here.
Chair Biederman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Right, and the 2 members who did not respond are excused because of conflicts. Okay, we need to approve the agenda as reminded by Mr. Miller.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Sure.
Okay, any objection to approving the agenda? Hearing none, it is approved. We have the minutes from May 11th of 2026. right? We have the board meeting minutes going back a year, over a year. Oh, no, I'm sorry, May 11th, so it would have been 3-4 months. So if those have been handed out, is there a motion to approve those minutes? Okay.
Second,
Okay, any objection to approving the minutes? Hearing none, they are approved. And I will note the resignation of board member Jose Puentes because of family conflicts, medical conflicts in his family. So now, and one other thing that we should get to, I think, is, well, let's go on in the order of the agenda. So the hearing in the matter now that I was addressing. Thank you for that reminder again. So, to the extent that the board decides that Mr. Montoya may have violated any of the campaign rules, then what penalty, if any, should the board impose? I do want to emphasize, because this can sometimes be confusing, this is not a criminal case. If it were, we couldn't hear it. This board is not authorized to hear criminal cases. It is not a criminal offense. If a fine is imposed, that would be a civil fine. It doesn't go on anybody's record as a crime. And it's a civil fine that is imposed without any criminal sanction. And any fine that we would impose would be based on a number of factors. And examples would be how the seriousness of the violation in terms of does it damage the integrity or credibility of our elections? Was there a deliberate act, or was it something accidental? Did the respondent correct any misconduct that occurred promptly and completely? Those are all factors we can consider. And I do also, at least I want to consider what impact might severe penalties have on future candidates running for office. Would something be so severe that it might discourage people from even attempting to gain public office? We don't want to do. The hearing will follow a certain order. And that's directed by our rules of organization and practice. We are an administrative body. We're not a court of law. The formal rules of evidence that courts follow and the rules of procedure do not apply to us because of our nature. But we are required and committed to provide due process in some manner. It's got to be provided in a reasonable way. There is a rule that I want to emphasize here in our rules, which we could have followed without it, but it's really valuable. Rule H6, and it states that any evidence is admissible if it is the sort of evidence on which responsible persons are accustomed to rely in the conduct of serious affairs, regardless of the existence of any common law or statutory rule that might make improper the admission of evidence over objection in civil actions. That's a fancy way of saying that if people would ordinarily find the information that's being provided as something they could rely on in the usual course of affairs and business of people have in their lives, then even if there is a statutory rule of evidence that applies to the courts, that does not necessarily cover that, and it can be admitted if we choose to do so. We will require an orderly process. Now, we've seen several meetings with these parties, attempts to reach settlement. There was quite a bit of emotion there, and that's understandable. But I do ask each party to treat everyone else in this matter as respectfully as you want to be treated, and present this board with facts and arguments, because that's all we're going to consider. Nothing beyond that. And please keep it respectful for both of you. So the order we will follow, the sequence that we're going to follow is, I will ask who will testify in this case for either side, and I'll put them under oath. The complainant will go first. This is all by the rules that we already have adopted. I'm not making these up. The complainant, in going first, may summarize her complaint, and then the respondent may summarize his responses or wait to do so until the complainant's case has been finished and he wants to present at that time, right before he starts his. It's up to you. The evidence would not be required at that point. These are summary statements that we want to just get a brief overview and outline of your side of the matter and what evidence you will introduce when it's your turn. Then the complainant, we will start to get into the evidence. She will present her evidence for each alleged violation. I'm going to allow an hour for the complainant to present her side. That can include calling witnesses, including herself. The respondent can cross-examine any witness who is examined, or in the case of the complainant herself, her own testimony, if she chooses to give that. He can cross-examine any witness who's testified as reasonable. It sounds reasonable, and I'll be guiding you in terms of what gets beyond the pale or what's okay. Evidence can be introduced in the discretion of the chair, but the board can overturn my rulings. That's they do not have to abide by it just because I say so. After the complainant has made her case, the respondent may then call witnesses. It's his turn, including himself. He gets an hour and a quarter. The witnesses will be subject to cross-examination, and then the complainant gets the extra quarter hour that the respondent had. The complainant may have one more chance to present rebuttal testimony or evidence. Those are limited to the arguments that were presented by the respondent, up to a quarter hour. Then the parties may each sum up their evidence in closing statements, and then the board will move into executive session with our counsel and the clerks and discuss how we view the evidence, come out, and we will rule here in the open meeting. I want to point out one thing. There are many allegations that the rules have been violated. If we were to go into all of those in great detail, we wouldn't be able to finish this proceeding today. Some of these allegations have also just been delivered as of yesterday to the respondent, or Sunday night in my case, which doesn't give adequate time to understand them or prepare a defense. So anything that's new that wasn't already alleged will not be allowed as the basis for alleging a rule violation. Maybe it's evidentiary, but it can't be used to actually say that's a violation and we're going to fine you for it. The other point I want to make is that if the complainant proves the respondent committed even a few violations, I would be surprised, I'm speaking for myself really, but I would be surprised if the board would pile on multiple fines for additional violations in what amounted to a single election contest. My strong suggestion to the complainant, and the board can disagree, is that you focus on what you consider the most serious violations supported by the strongest evidence and not bother trying to prove multiple violations, because they're just going to pile up and it doesn't add anything, because there's only so much that the board will tolerate charging for a single campaign for office. Lastly, I'll say that I'm going to point out the rule of procedure H6 authorizes me to exclude evidence, again, subject to the board's approval, authorizes me to exclude evidence that would cause undue consumption of time. And that's not something you find in court, but I can do that. Are there any questions about the procedures that are going on? Dr. Beninato, I'm sorry.
Yes. First of all, I think there's some procedural matters that need to be addressed. I did put in a motion to exclude Ms. Cato's testimony since I was not given her contact information, and that is required. I have to give it for my witnesses. Therefore, the respondent has to give it for his. He did not. And also there was an order, a mandatory order this time from the board to produce certain items, including, and if you give me a second, I'll pull it up. This all goes to what Ms. Cato was supposedly going to testify about.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Oh, you're just looking, okay.
I said it goes all to what Ms. Cato is going to testify about. The board told Mr. Montoya to answer and produce a list or log of where Montoya's campaign signs were posted through November 4th, the dates and locations from which the campaign signs were allegedly stolen, documentation as to how and when the campaign was notified, and the liaison excuse me, I'm not reading that correctly. The dates and location from which campaign signs were allegedly stolen and documentation as to how and when the campaign, the liaison, or Montoya were notified of each of these alleged thefts. And again, the legal presumption here is if those documents are not produced, they do not support the person who should produce them. So the allegation is that there were signs stolen. That's what Ms. Cato is going to testify about, but there's no documentation and the board ordered it. And again, I think it would be unfair to me to have a mandatory order, one of only two things this board required Mr. Montoya to provide, and then allow a witness to come in who I don't have the ability to even contact them to see if they would have talked to me, and allow that person to come in now and testify about something that there could have been documentation for. The other thing I want to be clear about too, because, you know, I do get to go to court if I want to, or I can file another complaint within a year. And really, if I'm not heard today, I may do that because I think there is fraud going on here now. It's not just, you know, like, you know, little here or there. Is that the rules allow reasonable discovery. That includes production of documents that's reasonable, especially if you're asking for your bank statements and your receipts from your campaign, which your own campaign rules require that you keep for 2 years. And then the other thing is that you, the chair, allowed us to amend our complaint in March, and you gave us 3 days to notify you and then so many days to submit. I followed that. So there is promissory estoppel to try to limit what I'm saying. And really, I'm not expanding greatly on what I have already presented. I simply pointed out the code provisions that were being violated, which you as the campaign board or the ethics board is supposed to know anyway. But again, I think it is part of my responsibility to point those out. So I just want to go on record as doing that. And you had said that the board would make a decision on the motion to exclude Ms. Cato's testimony. So I would appreciate if that happened. Thank you.
Montoya, do you want to respond to anything you've heard?
I don't, you know, it's her burden of proof in this case. So, you know, I mean, it's up to her.
And I'm going to consult with our counsel, as I warned you I would, Mr. Ross. Do you have any comment on what you've heard? You've looked into these documents very thoroughly. Might have. Well, I think we should hear from your microphone doesn't seem to be on.
Hello. Mr. Montoya didn't address the question, which is, what about the testimony of Ms. Cato?
Mhm.
So either he can address that or if he can't, you know.
I'd love for her to testify. I mean, even if she's precluded from testifying, I'll relay what she was going to say.
I'm concerned, well, is there anything else from the board? Yes, Mr. Miller.
No, I was going to say, I'd like to hear what you were going to say first.
Oh, I guess I was rather surprised at all the documentation that came in Sunday night, and now we've just been handed more today. And I don't recall an order that authorized that. So I think if we're going to accept all those documents that have come in at the last minute, that we also want to consider this testimony.
Most of those are exhibits that I had already produced more than once for you. So most of them, if you see, it has numbers on them because it's the order of presentation. but most of those are exhibits that have been in your possession
You rec-
for a long time and in Mr. Montoya's possession for a long time. So it's not really surprising. What I did put in there was the ordinances that were relevant. I put in an overview of his campaign financing report so that we didn't have to go and look at each one. I did put in what I believe are campaign violations, which is just going to be the argument that I'm going to make, that I'm allowed to make. And then just today, I put in what I'm requesting for fines, just to be clear about that, which again, I don't think I have to request that ahead of time. I've just tried to be very clear about how I came to those numbers. So there's maybe one document, which is the request for fines, that is new, but everything else you've had before, other than this overview of his campaign reports, but the reports have been part of the exhibits from day one. So I again feel like it would be prejudicial to me to allow a witness that I didn't have their contact information for to testify on a matter where you ordered the production of documents and it wasn't given. This is really unfair.
Understand your position. Any comments from the board members?
Can we ask Mr. Montoya a few questions?
Yeah, I mean, just to be fair, I haven't.
Here's Mr. Montoya, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about your witness and starting with what's the subject matter of her testimony?
Okay. So she's going to testify that a number of signs were stolen from around polling places the night of the election. And what that does is it opens a possibility that a lot of these illegally placed signs.
Okay, we can hear from her if we decide to. Is that the general essence of it?
Yeah, you could hear from her if you decide to.
Okay,
when we talk about
when you were asked to list your witnesses as a matter of fairness for the complainant and for the board's information, why didn't you give Ms. Cato's name to the board and to the complainant?
I wasn't going to bring her name at the board, but at one of the mediation sessions, when I talked to Mr. Ross about it, he said, you should just submit the name. Ms. Beninato has not been on time on several things. And to be fair, we should be able to consider when she's late and then also when you're late. So.
And so when did you tell everybody her name?
I think after that last mediation session, is it?
Can you give us
I think
the
that's
date?
when I filed it. I don't have it. Mr. Ross probably has it.
Approximately.
Actually, I can comment on that. It turns out that there was a letter sent in or an email giving the name of Ms. Cato at June 25th to the clerk, and the clerk passed it on to me, but through miscommunication, she had assumed, or I'm not sure which of you it was, but they assumed that that might have been sent to the other party, and it wasn't. So as it turned out, Dr. Beninato never received that until well into July. And that's just recent. So I think that's a miscommunication, just a misunderstanding as to whose responsibility it was. It was the responsibility of the parties to share their information with each other, but that is not what happened.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Ross, or? Okay. Then what I'd like to rule is that I want to hear Ms. Cato's testimony, regardless of what Ms. Beninato thinks I'm about, and including fraud. But I do want to hear it, but not reject the motion itself at this point. If it turns out that, this is my suggestion, that if it turns out that the testimony that is offered is something that would have required a lot of preparation time, then to cross-examine, then I will recommend granting that motion not to allow it. If it turns out that it doesn't require a lot of preparation time, then I would say the motion should be denied. So let's we will proceed with it in due course. It's not here yet. Okay, that's the motion, my ruling on the motion. Let's proceed now with, as pursuant to the rules, Dr. Beninato can present an opening statement if she wishes to summarize her case and what she wants to prove and intends to prove and how against the respondent.
Do I have that for that, please?
What's that?
How long? How many minutes?
Well, the total time I want to give you is an hour.
Including the summary?
Hmm?
I thought the summary was different, and then there was a presentation of the actual case.
All right, we can do that.
All right, so I will be brief. What I am intending to prove today is that David Montoya posted signs on public property well before campaign day, and that there were several of them, and he signed something from the clerk's office saying that he had read the rules and he understood them. He also put them just before the election, put them on commercial property, which again were put in places that if you had a landscaper that came once a week and they work at night, you might not want to see them. All those corporate commercial places are owned by out-of-state corporations, so it's not like the owner's there on the property and pervades the property every day and sees the signs. And they were up, some of them were up for over a month. And these are all documented by photographs and by Miss Rivera's testimony and by a comment in the paper by Janet Eduardo. And so again, there were 25 days with at least 4 signs up that after the election when they should have been taken down. And there were at least 10 signs for at least 5 days on public property before the election, and then for at least a few days after the election, although probably for 2 weeks after the election. And I have outlined that in my request for fines that I presented to you today, just to make it clear what exactly I'm asking.
I just wanted to clarify, how many signs did you say? I just missed it.
At least 10 signs on public property for at least 5 days. There was 1 sign at Whole Foods that was up for 2 weeks afterwards, so 9 days after the deadline of taking it down. And then there were 4 signs up on commercial properties stuck on electric boxes and all kinds of signs that you could move around easily. There was one that was a lawn sign. That they were up for 25 days after they should have been removed. And then the other thing I'm wanting to point out to you is that there are several campaign code violations. One is that Mr. Montoya did not separate his payments. So he used his personal credit card and his checking account, as well as an unidentified credit card to make payments for supposed campaign expenditures. He said he made himself a loan, but when you actually start adding it up on a macro level, you see that there would have been $16,000 left in his campaign account because the personal funds paid for half of the campaign expenses. And so there really was no loan made, even though he returned to himself $1,595 supposedly in loan repayments. There was also card registration that he claimed, parts for his truck. This was a truck, excuse me. Parts for his truck, a cooler that he paid for with his personal money, a labeling machine, personal money, all the barbecue expenses, the meat that he supposedly purchased, all personal money except for $180. And he bought $1,000. He paid $1,000 for a dinner with his personal money. And none of these things except one was advertised. And the one that was advertised was, come and canvass for me, and then I'll tell you where the barbecue is. And if you look at what I provided you from the Attorney General, you would know that the Attorney General would call that a bribe. I would call that paying somebody to work for you and because you're giving them some dinner. The other thing is that he bought a lot of what I would call tangible goods that it became his goods, like a sound system, a microphone, that were not, if they, like the sound system might have been used once, but it was actually shown to be purchased after the parade. And he had a videographer, so he didn't need these other things to make videos because he purchased some before he hired the videographer, and then the stabilizer and the tripod afterwards. So again, all these became his personal property. He started collecting money before he seemingly had an account, because he was paying for things from his personal account and this other credit card before he began paying from the campaign fund. So he's mixing money. He is taking money and or spending money before he has this account set up. He did not provide a final accounting, which the document that you see, which I got from IPRA request, shows that he read all of this. He was even given the date on which it was due, and he did not provide it. Even knowing that he was supposed to provide it, he did not correct it. He did not correct how he showed he got rid of the tangible goods that were worth more than $200, which was at least the truck and the sound system. And he did not show how he dispersed his surplus in his campaign account, again, which is all in the code. So these are the kinds of things that I have brought to your attention, and the exhibits that I've given you are support of those allegations. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you wish to make an opening statement, Mr. Montoya, or do you wish to either not make one or make it when you start your evidence? Do you follow me? I'm not, are you saying anything? I can't hear you. Is there a problem with sound? I
Okay.
don't think there you
The
are.
question that I have is to the
No, no, no.
board is, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Which one of these, because there's so many allegations that she just talked about, which allegations are we considering today?
Good question. Anything that was in the complaint or the amended complaint is a valid charge, a complaint against or an allegation involving your campaign. Other issues may still be presented as evidence, but you couldn't be actually fined for those because they weren't in the complaint or the amended complaint.
So could we reread exactly what because what she just said is really confusing and a lot of it seems new. So.
Mr. Ross, can you help me on this?
I mean, summarize what she just,
Not what she just said, but which are the allegations that are actually against him that as opposed to things that might be evidentiary?
well, essentially there,
Again, I'm not hearing you very well. I think you're not,
seems like there are two
that's better.
issues presented in the complaint. One of which was signs were improperly placed around town. We've heard some more detail about that now. And the other that that campaign funds were misused.
Or misused or not used for political purposes.
Well, I think those are the same thing, but that the phrase she uses is political purposes.
Mhm.
So those two major categories are what we're here talking about today. Everything else, we shouldn't really be talking about.
So can I get a ruling on the board to just kind of limit her arguments and her conversations and her points and her evidence to those two specific issues?
I think that would come at the appropriate time. You make an objection if you think something's beyond the scope of the hearing. Right now, you should
Yeah,
be
I bet then-
summarizing
yep.
your position for the board. That would be the best approach
Okay.
right now.
All right. So I just needed some clarification before I said anything. So, I mean, for me, it's very simple that whenever I've placed signs in a public property or where they haven't gone, I would get a call from the clerk's office. And I think that a lot of that is in record, that I have complied with that 100% of the time. And, you know, on the question of these other signs that she's talking about on election night, I never received any notice from the clerk's office. A lot of those signs stayed up because I didn't know where they were, because I dispute whether or not I posted them. So it'd be hard for me to remove signs that I don't even know where they are, you know? And so on that piece, I think that the truck is the things, the tire got flat on the truck and I couldn't replace one tire. I had to replace two tires. And because of that, you know, it's a safety thing. So it was for political purposes. I think the expenditures, other expenditures were also for political purposes. I haven't started a videography company of my own, and certainly I'm not using a wireless speaker, which I bought that you could plug a microphone into. And I'm not running a karaoke business or a DJ business, so they're not really being used for personal gain. And so, to be honest with you, I'm weary of being harassed for so long, and I just want just to make a ruling today. I think everybody in Santa Fe has gotten on with their lives, except for us in this room. And so, you know, that's my response at this point.
Okay, I'm going to now turn to the complainant to present your evidence. And let me ask at this point that anybody who intends to testify, raise your right hand, because I'm going to swear you all in, including your witness there, okay? I want to see everybody. Do you swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, yes.
Okay, you've all said yes, so you're all sworn in now for the entire duration of this proceeding. Ms. Beninato.
Okay. I think first of all, I'll start with the political signs. And I'd like to call Kathy Rivera as a witness, please. If you would come up here, Ms. Rivera, I want you to read these. Can we see online what I am now about to show on the screen?
Hang on 1 second, please. Excuse me, Dr. Beninato. Can we start the clock at 1 hour?
Yeah, but let's get the stuff posted first, because I think it's important that you all see what I'm going to show you, because otherwise how can I prove anything if you can't see it? Exhibit 4. Yes, I am. She has to get IT, so we'll just have to wait a few minutes. I could have Ms. Rivera just read the emails if you want, and she could testify that she did send them to the city clerk. We could read them out loud to at least get started. But I do want to show you the photographs because they are dated and timed. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the last thing you said.
I said I want to show you the photographs because they are dated as to when they were taken.
This email was sent on Tuesday, November 25th to the city clerk's office, attached our pictures taken over the last 4
I'm sorry to interrupt, excuse me, but can we get an introduction to the witness and I just want to know what your name is, please.
Sorry, my name's Catherine Rivera. I'm a resident of Santa Fe in District 1. I was also in the campaign for this district seat, and my opponent was David Montoya.
Okay, thank you.
So as a candidate, after the election, I sent this email to the city clerk's office. The email is dated Tuesday, November 25th, to this address to the city clerk's office. The body says, attached are pictures taken over the past 48 hours of campaign signs still up around District 1 area. The sign on the gate is located at the intersection of West Alameda and Via Veteranos. The signs on the utility boxes at DeVargas Mall were still in place as of yesterday afternoon. Additional orange signs were previously left up on poles surrounding Tomasita's restaurant. They fell off during the recent rain and are now littering the ground. An example is at the pole closest to Guadalupe Street and Garfield Street intersection. That picture was not included here, and it's signed by my name.
So when you say they were on poles, what were the poles?
They were the utility poles, the wooden utility poles that typically have the telephone lines or the overhead lights for the streets. On the sidewalk, yes.
That's public property. And about how many did you see?
Well, next to Tomasita's, there were two on that particular area, but I did see these orange signs on various places.
have
throughout
a-
District 1.
I have a objection.
Well, just
None of
wait a
these-
moment. Wait
None
a-
of these
wait-
particular instances were in the original complaint.
Okay,
They're additional that I haven't had really enough time to review. So that's my objection.
I see. Okay, I'm overruling that objection. Go ahead.
So the poles, the signs on the telephone poles were near Tomasita's, and there were two, one on each side of the street. We did see the orange signs. They were 8.5 by 11 signs that were placed on utility boxes throughout DeVargas Mall. And I was told there were some at Walmart. We did see those same signs on the bridge over the river at St. Francis and Alameda, as well as the bridges and the railings around Fort Marcy Park the day of the election.
Then you sent another email to the city clerk, which is this one here.
Okay, so this also is an email from me sent Tuesday, December the 2nd. And it says attached are pics of the sign still in place at DeVargas Mall utility boxes as of Monday night. And also a yard sign on St. Michael's Drive at the entrance to Smith's on Pacheco Street. And the picture was taken Friday, November the 28th.
And I'm just going to quickly go through these exhibits now. And by the way, I also sent one to the city clerk. Let's see. Make sure. Then I'm having trouble. No. Oh, and here is one, here's a comment by a woman. So the reporter put a article in the paper about you finding probable cause. And a comment was on November 15th, there are still Montoya signs on public property, bad enough to put them there, but they're still there weeks later after the election. Candidates should be fined if their signs aren't promptly removed. I also sent an email. See if I can find that easily for you, but let me just go through the photographs. I think it would be easier. I don't know why this is not coming up. Let me go out and come back in. I'm sorry. I'm just having trouble showing it this to come up. But you all should have it. It should have been sent to you by email, so you can go look and I can point them out to you if for some reason there is a problem here. I keep saying, make sure OneDrive is running, personal is running on your PC, try again. Sorry. So I can't show you this. I don't know what to say, but if you look at what I sent you, number 7 is Exhibit 26. This is a sign at Trader. Can you help me maybe do this? I don't know what to do.
Is this the one at the First National Bank?
There's one at Trader Joe's. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm not connected.
Got 7.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm not connected. Where do I put this? I'm sorry.
Okay, we all see them based on the, photos. Oops, sorry, based on the photos that you sent us.
Okay, so if you, yeah, look at numbers 6, I'm sorry. That email number 6 is my email to the city clerk, asking again on November 3rd, the day before the election. Yeah, 6, this one here. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm not sure. What are you doing? What am I looking at here? This? No, that's not the one I want. Okay. This is really annoying. Here's my to the clerk on November 3rd. I've seen David Montoya's signs on public property, 2 on the rail trail facing Paseo, near Guadalupe, 2 on the bridge at St. Francis East, just south of Alameda. I've seen 3 signs in landscape, part of the shopping complex at St. Francis and Cordova, where Trader Joe's is. I doubt Montoya has owner's permission since they were put up on Sunday. Please remove the signs from the public property as soon as possible. And then if you've already looked at the photographs, I don't necessarily have to go through them again, but let's see if I can quickly go through them.
Ms. Beninato?
Yeah.
Is your witness done testifying?
Yes, she is done testifying. So here's pictures. These are my photographs taken dated 11/3. There's one in the rail trail, by the rail trail.
Last one was outside the site Santa Fe. Is that-
Yes, here they are on the River Park on the public bridge. Another one on another public bridge or public railing on the rail trail. This is on the rail trail. This is Miss Montoya's, Miss Montoya's sign photographs. Here's another one from Miss Miss Rivera. Here's another one. Here's another one. This one's, I think, out in county, so probably doesn't count. But
Actually, Dr. Beninato, can we, if you're finished, if Ms. Rivera's testimony is finished, we haven't given her, Mr. Montoya a chance to cross-examine her yet.
okay, I thought he would do that separately, but if you want to do that now,
I think we should go ahead with that, yeah.
okay, and just let me finish with at least the these emails and signs having to do with oops. No, that's not. Okay. I wanted to show you city emails, city emails to Mr. Montoya. So here it is. These are very late, and these are the only ones that I think you requested, Chair Peterman, that you received. But here they are telling him, hey, you have these signs up, and any idea where this one is? I swear someone stole my signs and is randomly putting them in place. And then additional campaign signs need to be addressed. Wow, I don't even know where the first one is located. So this is Mr. Montoya's responses when he was told of signs in different places that, oh, they were stolen, or I don't know where they are. And again, if you have a location list, you know where they are. I'm happy for Ms. Rivera to be cross-examined.
Mr. Montoya, it's since the testimony, you've heard the testimony by Ms. Rivera, and now you can cross-examine her if you have any questions.
Or can you hear me? Okay.
We hear you.
Hey, Kathy, did you see me post any of those signs?
Did I see you post any of the signs?
Uh-huh.
I never saw who posted them.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
So, Dr. Bernardo, you were sworn, do you wish to actually offer testimony now that,
I did offer testimony.
That-
I said that I saw these signs.
okay,
I saw them actually in the commercial areas before starting on Friday. Definitely by Sunday, I saw more. I definitely saw on public places starting Sunday. And those are some of the places that I saw. I saw at least 8 signs posted in public property on the rail trail, on the river trail, and on over the bridges on public property. That's where I saw them. And if you look at some of those signs, I mean, they're not the kind of signs that you're pulling up and stealing and then putting back over. And let me just see if I can find one that would show you that.
the reason I'm asking is because you also have other allegations, and I want to make sure that your testimony,
Well, you're
had the
asking
opportunity
me,
to
I've
testify
already
over-
testified and I've already showed this to you, but apparently
I'm not talking about the signs, I'm talking about the other,
Well, I'm looking now at this sign. Do you see how it's on there with these plastic things? These are, you need some kind of machine, I think, to put these plastic signs on here.
we're not
You would
seeing-
need something pretty substantial to cut them off. I really doubt that somebody stole these signs from somewhere unknown and put them up. In addition, Mr. Montoya spent over $1,300 on signs on October 27th, 29th, and 31st. So he bought over $1,300 worth of signs in the last week. So to say he wasn't trying to plaster the signs everywhere, I don't think that the evidence actually supports that. And that is in his campaign, his campaign,
his report,
campaign,
his financial report.
views, and yeah, and we can go through those, but you're not going to give me enough time, so I'm just going to try to go as fast as I can. But I'd like to look at the first financial report. And here it is, personal credit card, personal credit card, personal credit card. Every one for a page and a half, personal credit card, and then Capital One unidentified credit card. We don't know whose. Keep going, another page of Capital One credit cards. And then finally, on June 5th, he starts spending with his campaign checks. And he includes here,
Mr. Chairman,
a,
Ms. Meninato,
yes,
could you do us a favor and tell us what exhibit number you're looking at?
Okay.
Because we can see them on the screen, but we all have seen them before, and it might be a little easier if we know the number, what we're referring
okay,
to.
let me see. So in the numbers that I gave you, is number 21 on the list that I gave you. Okay. And it says Exhibit 6. So you can see that virtually all of these were exhibits that I presented to you a long time ago. So that was this is number 21. And all of these are personal expenses, you know, made from his personal account. You are not supposed to mix your personal account and your campaign account. Everything's supposed to go through your campaign account. You can have more than one campaign account according to the code, but you can't mix personal and campaign. And that's what happened here. And you can see there is a videography here, $500 on 8/26. And there was a loan repayment here of $1,000 to Mr. Montoya. And there were 2 loan payments in June and July to Mr. Montoya. But if you start adding up the numbers, there was no
I just-
loans
I-
made to Mr.
Can I
Montoya.
object at this point that none of this relates to the allegations in the complaint?
Yes, because Mr.
I'm
Montoya
not,
came
I'm not,
in
I'm
and
not
said,
asking
Let's
you.
not
I'm,
have it. Well, that's one
I'm-
at a time, one at a time. Go ahead, Mr. Montoya. Go ahead. Mr. Montoya, I want to hear your objection.
none of this is relevant to any of the data and the complaint that she filed that we're considering today. If she could stick to just what she's alleged. If she wants
Uh,
to file another complaint later, she's welcome to, but I just want to stick to what we're considering today.
Well, Mr. Montoya said that there was no definition for political expenditure, and you all agreed with that. I gave you information that other entities, other jurisdictions have used, which as lawyers, you know, you can rely on, you can use as guidelines. But more importantly, the code itself tells you what is an allowable campaign expense. And that's what you need to look at. So when he said there was no definition for political expenditures, that was an untrue statement. The code has definitions in it as to what is allowable. You cannot mix your two. You cannot mix personal with your account, your campaign account. You cannot.
Again,
You
I'm
cannot-
objecting.
Stop, Mr. We need to hear from one
Yeah.
at a time. I'm not going to let people talk over each other.
This
Okay.
is,
Finish.
you also have a regulation that you cannot pay yourself a wage and you cannot give yourself support. And again, if you're repairing your truck and your truck is registered in your name, which is clearly on the first, on a number 21 there, then that's your personal stuff. If you're buying things with your personal money, it's yours. It's not the campaign's. And if $14,000 of your personal money is used for your $28,000 of campaign expense, and your campaign pays $14,000, then your loan amount of $14,000 never happens. And that is important because that is fraud. And the other thing here too is none of these things, again, you have to, excuse me, let me just take a breath here. You can't mix your things. You can't support yourself. You cannot donate to a political party. There are 2 donations of meat to the Democratic Party for Labor Day workers picnic that amount to $200. You can't do that. It clearly says this in the code. There are definite provisions in the code that I have provided to you that it defines what an acceptable political expense or expenditure is. So yes, there's no actual definition for that term, but there are definitely limitations on what you can use and how you use it and what account it has to go through. And when you say you're giving yourself a loan, but you don't put any money into your own account, that is a problem. That is fraud, especially when you pay yourself back $1,595 in 3 separate payments.
Okay.
And let me just say too, events and I'm not going to go through all of these. I don't know if this will come up. Firefox.
I'd like to hear Mr. Montoya's.
Well, I'm not, I thought I had a certain amount of time to do this and then he can question me. Is that not what is happening here?
Well, he's objecting to the evidence that you're introducing as irrelevant.
Well, I think you need to look at the code. You're supposed to be enforcing the code, and that's what it says clearly. The ethics board, are supposed to enforce the code.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm telling you that.
I'm as chair, I'm running the meeting. So if you would let me now listen to Mr. Montoya's objection. Go ahead, Mr. Montoya, now's your chance.
Yeah, I object, and I don't know the right term, but don't really consider anything that you said that's not related to the complaint she made. I mean, a lot of this stuff is new. A lot of this stuff is dogpiling on. A lot of this stuff is unsubstantiated and has nothing to do with the specific allegations that she's made in her written complaint. Like I said, she's got a year to file a new complaint. If she wants to file a new complaint, it certainly is her right. But all this stuff is new. And this is the first time that she's done it. You know, and you've stricken a lot of the stuff that she's added on later. And this is just a continuance of that type of harassment. So if we can instruct her to keep it to the relevant things that she has originally complained about, that you rule are worth hearing, then I think we'd save a lot of time.
I am actually keeping to it. Here is my verified amended reply. Page
No,
2.
I'm just asking the chair
Page
to
2.
consider, please.
No,
My
no,
objections.
she's responding to that, so now I'm going to let Ms. Bernardo speak. Yeah.
Page 2. Additionally, there are many expenses paid for by Mr. Montoya's personal credit card or personal check, which seems to be a violation of 9-2.3D and 9-2.8C. And then I go on to talk about what a political purpose is, trying to give you some guidelines on that. I talk about the sound system. I talk about the cooler. I talk about the truck. I talk about the iPhone gamble stabilizer and tripod. I talk about the barbecues and the campaign breakfasts. I talk about the Democratic Party donations. I talk again about the barbecues and the fact that he doesn't advertise. Here's what's advertised. Schedule Santa Fe Pride on the Plaza. That's what we see on this Facebook page, okay? That's all we see under events. Let me close that. And then if we look at his Facebook page entry, and this is, I'm sorry, we could go to the Facebook, you get a better idea. Here's he is chopping up briskets for the Labor Day party at the Democratic headquarters. Here's supports from legends. Here's come drink liberally with him. Here's the only fundraiser that he actually had, which was, or advertised, which was on October 9th, and it was supposed to be a Casa Cena. If you look at his expense report that encompasses that time date, and I can find it for you. I believe it's number 24, Exhibit 9. Let me make sure. If not, it's Exhibit 8. No, it's the exhibit, excuse me, it's Exhibit 8, which is number 23 on your. Sorry. He paid for the jazz band fundraiser on 10/10, but there's nothing to Casa Cena here at all. Nothing at all. Nothing. Oh, he got a dinner for two. He had a catering for a fundraiser on October 8th, and he paid $1,000 by personal credit card for that fundraiser that wasn't advertised. And we go
May I
through
rule,
this
may I
again.
rule on the motion, on the objection? I'm going to rule against the objection and with the understanding that we will take this information that you're offering as potential evidence in terms of whether Mr. Montoya was observing rules or not, but not something that we would actually decide in terms of finding a violation that could lead to a fine.
Well, I don't know what else you would do. You gotta let people pay from their personal credit card and their.
I have ruled, Ms. Beninado. Let's move on.
Okay. So anyway, he didn't advertise anything on his event page except for this one barbecue where you can go canvas for him first, and then he'll tell you where the fundraiser is. And we have one photo. Here he is, and let me see if I can blow it up for you.
May I suggest to the complainant that we are getting a little into the weeds here in
Yes,
terms
well,
of-
I'm just trying to show, let me just say that what I presented to you here shows that there is only one barbecue that was advertised. That was the canvassing one. One fundraiser that was advertised that never happened, apparently. The jazz band was paid, but there's nothing to Casa Cena on October 9th. And there's nothing to, there's no food, nothing there at all, no funds raised on that date. And then also you have Mr. Montoya from his personal account paying $3,200 in campaign funds, for campaign materials. And you also have him paying $2,600 personal funds for an ad for his campaign. This is personal funds. It did not come through his account, his campaign account. And again, if you start adding those up, and there they are, and you can add them up yourself, and I've tried to make it easy for you by giving you that summary, is that you have a contributions of, I'll just round them out, $30,000. He had expenses of $28,000. Almost $14,000 of those were paid for through personal expenses or through that Capital One credit card, and $14,000 was paid through his campaign expenses. This is a violation of the code that you have in front of you. These are the limitations that the code imposes. So even though the code doesn't define what a political expenditure is, it's not a free-for-all. You can't just decide that you're going to pretend you're loaning yourself money and then pay yourself back. You can't use your personal expense account and then pretend that you had loans and you only had $2,000 left in your account. You do have to give a final accounting. I put that in there. You do, and again, you have to justify if you had tangibles worth more than $200. You have to say, here's how I got rid of them. You have to show how you got rid of your campaign leftovers, basically, how you distributed those. And it's clearly defined in the code how you do that. And Mr. Montoya did not do that. And you might think that you're discouraging people from running, and then I don't see that as any legitimate stance or grounds here for not imposing a fine. But what I do think is if you let anybody run who doesn't want to comply with the rules and wants to get around them by saying, oh, there's no definition for political expenditure and I can do whatever I want, then we have people who who are not ethical, basically.
I
Not ethical.
would appreciate if you do not speculate as to what I'm thinking.
I apologize, but you're the one who said that about
Yeah.
people not wanting to discourage people. I want to discourage people who are not acting ethically and who are not following the
We
clearly
agree on that. You
rule.
don't have to impress.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to object to everything she said. That's not relevant to the charges
All right.
that
we
she
just-
alleges. Again,
Okay. I believe that since Dr. Bernardo has sat down, I think you're finished testifying. Because if you are, I'm going to
Catherine Rivera wants to testify.
I thought she already did.
I object.
I'm going to let her be recalled.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Rivera.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, I was a candidate in this campaign where David Montoya was one of my competitors. And just to clarify my earlier statement, I didn't see any candidate put up any signs throughout the city. I didn't see any of the candidates for mayor put up their own signs. I don't believe anybody saw me put up a sign. So I go with the message here that we were all given instructions on how to manage our signs, how to have a point of contact, how to keep a list of where those signs were placed, and we ultimately were responsible. So even if we saw someone putting up large signs throughout the town, the expectation would be that they knew what the rules were, they were part of the team that was instructed to do the right thing, and there was no necessary expectation that we would know by sight who was putting up those signs. So I will tell you that we had a list. I had an Excel spreadsheet. I know many of the mayoral candidates kept track of their own signs. And as a matter of courtesy, we all called each other to say, hey, you still have a sign up at such and such a place? And they were thankful and they said, yes, we're getting to that section of town. We'll take them down soon. There was a general friendliness and cooperation amongst the candidates. We all knew what the rules were. We all knew the rules the signs had to come down within a certain period of time. And that is the reason I sent those emails, because it was way past the deadline for signs to be up throughout the town. And the expectations were clear amongst the candidates, not just in my race, but amongst the mayoral candidates. And I would argue that just because we didn't see somebody putting them up, that's an inaccurate expectation. Everyone was expected to follow the rules and had a team that was doing so.
Okay, now you've just come back, so I'm going to offer Mr. Montoya another opportunity to cross-examine. Mr. Montoya, do you have any further cross-examination for Ms. Rivera?
I don't.
Okay. You can sit down.
Just want to say again, to finish my presentation, that the exhibits are there. You can look at them, and I hope you have looked at them. They verify everything that I have talked about. They verify the summaries that I've presented to you for the financial reports. What was spent on how much was spent on like barbecues were $660. The donation to the Democratic Party was 207. The campaign materials was 3,200 and something dollars. The ad in the New Mexican that Mr. Montoya personally paid for was over $2,600. That's all in those campaign reports. And I have not really gone outside what I have said. I have pointed out to you that my amended, and this was actually in my first one too, but I pointed out specific code provisions that were violated because I wasn't going to just rely on the idea of I should convince you what a political expenditure should be when their city has no definition, and you would have to rely on the state's definition, which I think is clear. If something's incidental to your campaign, such as your truck, you're using your truck, yeah, great, but you're going to use your truck for years afterwards. Or you have a cooler and you use it for 2 parades, that's incidental. Again, if you look at that, what I've given you, the Attorney General's letter, I think it's clear. Vote for me, and you're getting new voters in. That's an approved political expenditure. If you're paying your supporters, even giving them a barbecue, that is not okay. That smacks of what the AG would call a bribe. I would call it rewarding your supporters. You're not getting new voters. And that's what an approved political expenditure is supposed to be. It's supposed to be vote for me. You haven't decided yet, vote for me. And so when you take people out to lunch or breakfast or dinner before the election, and they're already your supporters, you are not getting new voters. And you can look at that also, because that is in my amended response, because Mr. Montoya brought it up in his reply. And you'll see that virtually everything I have spoken about today, the hamburger, the barbecues, the breakfasts, everything like that is in that reply. So it's not new. You've had it. I can't remember when I put that in, beginning of April. I've met your deadlines, and I'm clear that I have met every deadline that you have imposed.
And Mr. Montoya, do you have any further cross-examination for Ms. Beninato?
Sure. Stephanie, did you ever see me post any of those signs? Can you hear me?
She's coming back from her seat.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that conclude the presentation by complainant?
Yes, I'll probably want to do a summary depending on what Mr. Montoya says, but yes, I think I've
That's
covered what I need to cover as quickly as I can. Again, I tried to give you summaries so you don't have to go through each of those expense reports, but feel free to go through them. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see the loan repayments. You'll see that there's so many campaign expenditures paid for with personal credit card or that Capital One credit card.
okay.
And again, that's just improper and it's in the code. I'm not asking you to do anything except enforce the code. And that is what limits your campaign expenses, not some general definition of what a political expenditure is.
Okay, the complainant has finished her presentation of the case against you. Now, Mr. Montoya, would you like to make would you like to present any evidence? You've made an opening statement, either yourself or through your witness.
Yeah, I'd like to call my witness and ask her some questions.
Okay. And please state your name. I can't hear you. I think you're on mute. Is that right?
Hi, my name's Joan Cato.
Say it again.
Joan Cato.
Okay, and you understand you're under oath for this entire
Yes.
proceeding? Okay, Go ahead, Mr. Montoya.
Okay. Hi, Joan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. It's been a while. Good to see you. I have a couple questions for you, and just take your time answering them. And like I said, we're both under oath. And so I guess my first question is, why don't you talk a little bit about your experience on campaigns?
So I've worked on campaigns for about the last 20 years. I've worked on 2 presidential campaigns. President Barack
I'm
Obama.
objecting because again, we were told that she was just going to talk about missing signs. So that's what she should limit her testimony to, is missing signs.
This is background and you're overruled. Go ahead. Continue.
Yes. So I've worked on several congressional races, but everything from city council all the way up to the presidency. I've worked in about 30 or 40 states at this point in my life, and including most relevant to this case, I came out for approximately the last 2 weeks before the election.
Let me interrupt let me just interrupt for 1 second. Can we start the clock again for this presentation? Because we're now at 1 hour again. Yeah, 1 hour. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Montoya.
Okay. Based on your experience, do you think it's normal to have political signs up after the election?
Definitely. I live in DC. Our primary was on June 16th, and there are still signs up, even in my local park. They're all over the ground. I mean, it's completely normal to have signs up. It's kind of to be expected if people are participating in the democratic process.
Is it also normal to have political signs stolen?
Unfortunately, yes, but I believe it's also against campaign regulations in most states. In Washington, D.C., you can be fined, and I think it may even be a misdemeanor depending on how many signs are stolen.
So who typically steals signs? Just people that are anarchists or maybe opponents?
Yes. So typically it's from your rival campaigns. So a competitor such as Ms. Rivera, like, would be an example of somebody who might steal it. Like when I was working for Senator Obama back in the day, it was Senator Clinton's campaign who was the highest suspect of stealing signs, right? Even though it wasn't the candidate themselves. It was sometimes a member of their team, maybe even volunteers that you don't know personally that could participate in something that you don't believe in as a candidate and you would never endorse.
Okay. You talk about your time in Santa Fe, those 2 weeks when you came to visit me and help me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was there. I came from Arizona. I got there on October 22nd, and I left on November 5th. I stayed at your house because I know we were trying to save money. And I know money is also kind of an issue here. But I helped out with everything from providing political advice, strategic advice, helped out a little bit with social media. And I'm not a videographer, by the way, and I did not get paid like that. Volunteers, I helped out with election day, early vote, and some of the signs. You know, I actually took the photo and designed your signs too. So
Thank you. When you were in Santa Fe, approximately how many times did you see my campaign signs stolen? And could you give a quantity, an estimated quantity of what you would say that is?
I mean, I think I reported it to you probably about 10 times. In 10 different incidents, multiple signs were stolen. So I would say about 50 plus signs were stolen. And then on election day, even more than that. Signs were taken down around polling locations, signs that we put up within the block or the several feet radius, because every state and location usually has a certain radius that it can be from the polling location. And so there were several signs that just were not accounted for, including some of the plastic hard signs that I believe I didn't miss. Stephanie was mentioned earlier in one of her pictures.
Yeah. All right. So you could say that you're kind of an expert on where signs should go and where they shouldn't go
Yes.
at a national level.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Hey, as a political expert, do you think that penalizing first-time candidates on sign violations and minor campaign spending mistakes really affects people's propensity to run for office in the future?
Definitely. I think it's a tactic of intimidation. I think based on the fact that when your political competitors is one of the witnesses and trying to penalize you is a clear sign of retaliation and trying to eliminate a potential competition from future city council races. To me, it's very similar to frivolous lawsuits that Trump, the president of the United States, puts forth in order to prohibit people from having free speech and exercising their rights. Personally, I've seen this in a number of states, especially when I was in charge of Bernie's campaign as the national delegate director. The typical Democratic Party establishment is not necessarily open to having people that haven't waited their turn to run for office. And so in a lot of states, I'm not necessarily saying that this is what happened in Santa Fe, but in a lot of places, they try to kick somebody out, prevent them from joining the local Democratic Party, and prevent them from running in the future. So this is a similar tactic to what I've seen in other situations at local Democratic Party establishment versus progressive candidates.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot for that. I said, hey, and another follow-up to that is in your opinion, having a former political rival use this election board to implement fines, prohibit future candidates, is that another reason, do you think?
Yeah. I think that some of the things that Miss Stephanie was talking about, such as barbecues, events, are totally normal part of running for office. And when you're talking about a fundraiser, I think she mentioned something about not putting the address on Facebook. It depends who the person's house, right? Like if the person who's hosting the fundraiser for you doesn't want their personal address listed on social media, it is completely normal not to list addresses. And some of the other things she says seem like very minor, like maybe misunderstandings, maybe just not fully understanding how campaign spending was supposed to be spent in Santa Fe. And their typical ways, a lot of the events she mentioned, and having food, it's very normal to pay for pizza for people who door knock for you, who volunteer. It's very possible that every location has a different feel. So having a barbecue afterwards totally makes sense. And I would also question, right, if the local Democratic Party has hosted events and has there ever been free food or food provided at those events? That seems very similar to what she was talking to you about some of those finance regulations that she doesn't believe were spent properly.
Okay,
and then
thank you.
also for the campaign leftover spending, I mean, I don't know how it works in Santa Fe, so I'll just say this too, is that usually you don't have to spend down your account in a lot of places if you might be intending on running in the future. And so like her saying that, and then also having somebody who was your competitor be as a witness and helping her try to lodge these complaints seems like retaliation and an intimidation tactic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So let me ask you another question, and maybe something that you've seen, especially like for parades and things like that. Do candidates from time to time use their personal vehicles as a campaign expense, especially if they're antique vehicles or classic cars, to be in parades? And would you say that spending campaign funds to maintain the safety of that vehicle is in the public interest and a relevant campaign expenditure?
Yes. So I've definitely seen political candidates or their supporters use their cars in parades. A lot of times the candidates don't own a vintage car, so they'll get one of their supporters to go ahead and use theirs. And then sure, try to make sure that, yes, that public safety is taken into account, because you wouldn't want it to be like have the car accidentally drive into the crowd. I mean, spending it on tires is like questionable, right? Right? Because there's definite use in the future for it. But if you had your sign on it, your political paraphernalia, you had a speaker that you were telling people to vote for you, I mean, I think that in this case, it would probably be acceptable.
Okay.
But I'm
Thank
not
you.
familiar with all the.
No, I appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to add about, maybe how long you've known me, my character, my integrity, whether or not I'm ethical? I mean, there's been some pretty heavy duty accusations in that vein.
Yes. So I've known you over 10 years at this point. Probably closer, 10, 14 years-ish. You're a veteran. You've served in DC for the Obama administration. I mean, I believe you're ethical. I believe that you always try to do what's best for your community, and you were just running for office to really try to help the community of Santa Fe. I know your kids recently graduated, so you were trying to figure out a way as an empty nester to try to help out your community and get more involved. So I really admire you for having the courage to run for office. A lot of people don't win their first time around, and it takes a lot to withstand like a lot of criticism to your character and to your integrity that unfortunately is part of the process nowadays, but I don't think that's deserved. You have always upheld a high level of integrity. And while today you're representing yourself, while there might be misunderstandings, you always try to abide by what is right and what is ethical.
Thank you, Joan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all I got. If she wants to be cross-examined, go for it.
Yep, I do. Could you please tell us when you first met Mr. Montoya? How you met him?
In Washington, D.C. about 14 years ago.
And how did you meet him?
I met him through a friend of mine, Raleigh Contreras, who was also serving at the Department of Veteran Affairs.
And how many campaigns have you worked on together?
With Raleigh?
No, with David Montoya.
That was my first time helping him run for office.
Has he worked with you on other campaigns, like for Bernie's campaign for president? No. Okay. And are you a paid campaign specialist?
Yes.
Okay. Were you paid by this campaign?
No.
But you said you wanted to save him money.
Yes.
So you were expecting to be paid?
No, I volunteered.
Okay. And
I paid for my own flight.
Okay, you just answer my questions, please. Because again, we don't have all that much time, and I don't want to take all of Mr. Montoya's time in case he wants to say something else. Are you familiar with the code in Santa Fe concerning elections? Have you read it?
I didn't see the point.
Okay, so you are not familiar with what is approved expenditures or how they are supposed to be?
I am not familiar with Santa Fe regulations, which is what I said earlier.
Okay, and did you know that it's a nonpartisan election?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
That it's nonpartisan, like a D or R does not go behind your name.
Right. So it doesn't matter. No party is going to keep you out of power because it's in a nonpartisan election. You don't have to be a member of a party. Is that correct?
So what I said previously, it's not necessarily about parties. It's about different divisions of the Democratic Party, progressive versus establishment. As you can currently see of what's happening in Michigan, the
I'm not
Minnesota
asking you
race
about
that's
that.
happening
I'm not
today,
asking you
et
about that.
cetera.
Please answer my question.
Yep.
I did answer
you
your
can You
question.
can limit your answers, Ms. Cato, please.
Yeah, we don't need to know about Michigan. We need to know about Santa Fe and what you know about Santa Fe.
I just told you.
Okay, you don't know anything about the election
I
code.
said
You
I did
never
not
read it.
read those codes.
Okay,
That specific code that you mentioned, I did not read it.
okay. And how many where were the signs that you noticed that were taken? Exactly where were they located? And how did you know they were taken? If you didn't, did you have a list? Did you see a list of signs?
I didn't see a list, but I saw signs previously, and then I did not see them afterwards.
And
right?
where were
Signs,
they?
yard signs. Like one
Wh-
was near, closer to his house. There were a few on the way to his house from like the main street.
Can you
from,
please
like,
give us
down-
addresses, exact
I
locations?
Don't have those. Like I mentioned, I'm not from Santa Fe. I don't know the exact addresses.
And do you know when they were put up to begin with?
I have no idea.
Did
But
you know
one
that
day you see
Mr.
them, and then one day I didn't.
Did you
and
know
they were
Mr.
stolen.
Montoya? Did you know Mr. Montoya bought signs 3 times in the last week on October 22nd, 7th, 29th, and 31st? Are you
I
aware
mean,
that
that
signs
sounds
were
about
delivered?
accurate.
Uh-huh.
It's normal to buy signs during the last week of an election.
That many signs.
I mean, that's not very many. It depends on what you're talking about.
And so what kind of signs did he buy that week that you saw?
There were orange signs and there were blue signs.
And what does that mean?
The different colors of the signs of what I was
Well, what
referring
size
to.
were they? How did you attach them or put them into the ground? What kinds of signs were they?
About 3 by 2 feet,
And what about the signs that you saw
like
on
yard
the,
signs. There were plenty of yard signs. There were signs that would be more like placards. And then there were signs that go more in the ground.
so those are yard signs, are they not the
There's
ones
2
that go in the
different types
ground?
of signs.
Please don't
like you
speak
said, what
over
kind of
let me-
signs?
Let me interrupt
Like-
for a moment. Please don't speak
Yes.
over each other because we're on especially with Zoom being used here. It's very difficult to keep track of all that. So please.
Oh, I'm
just
sorry.
Don't talk over each other.
So again, I'm
I
asking
was trying to
you
answer her question.
Doing it again.
I'm asking you specifically, what kinds of signs were taken? You saw the pictures of these signs. The signs that were posted on electric boxes, were those some of the signs that were shipped to Mr. Montoya that week? And how many were shipped?
I don't know how many. I'm sure you have receipts, or he submitted a receipt as part of his financial report, right? So that should be part of it. And what was the other question?
How many yard signs were there?
Like I told you, I don't know how many yard signs, and I don't know how many placards were
And
at his house
placards
or
are-
sent.
Excuse me, what are placards? What kinds of?
Placards are about this big, and they don't necessarily go into the ground, right?
And how-
Those would be ones that would go on a wall, or that would you would give to people when you're talking to them, or
And how many
would,
of those were sent that week?
unfortunately, I don't know how many. I've told you
Yeah.
that multiple times.
And how many of those signs did you put up during that week? And where did you put
I
them
mean,
up?
I think you're making a lot of assumptions that I was putting up one sign versus another. We put up yard signs.
Where did you put them and how many?
A trunk full.
Which is
Um,
how many?
I don't know how many, and I've said that already multiple times.
You said you helped him design the signs, or did they change
Yes.
over time?
Yes,
So his original signs were different than the ones that he put up in the last week. Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm just saying there were multiple signs that he had.
And did you know of anybody who actually complained to Mr. Montoya about his signs being put in their yard without permission?
No, I believe Miss Rivera complained at one point about a sign to him on like a friend or a family member's property or something like that. And I actually helped take that down.
Okay.
So
Um,
like, I mean, to assume that I was the one that put it up is like, I was specifically doing like polling locations, election day. And some of the signs that I put up on election day near the polling locations within that certain designated amount of feet were taken down.
And did you see those signs put up somewhere else the next day after the election?
It's hard to know if they were the exact same sign that was stolen, right? Like, because somebody could take this, all the signs look the same, right? As far as like, if it has blue David Montoya or if it had the orange one with him and the cat or the dog, right? It's hard to know if the one that was stolen was the one that ended up somewhere else, but I could tell you the same type of sign did end up in other places where
in what
our team did
locations?
not put them.
What were the polling locations where the signs were taken? Which ones?
I don't remember. I mean, one was like a gym, a park, one was the school, like, you know, the normal
So
polling locations, a library maybe.
Did you have a
I'm
sign?
not.
Did you have a list of those locations?
I had a list of the polling locations, yes.
And did you produce those? Did you give them? Do you have them today that you can produce them now?
No, I don't.
Did Mr. Montoya have them?
I would assume he has a list of the polling locations. Maybe
So-
he did at one point.
Oh, he did, but he hasn't
I would
produced
assume he
them.
knows what the polling locations were, but I don't. I
And
mean,
so-
if you're
May I
running
s-
for
may-
office, don't you think most people would have a list of the polling locations?
May I step in here for a second? Because I think you're
Yes.
asking, does he have a list of the polling locations from which signs were stolen?
Oh, I
think
don't
she's
have
talking about a
that.
list.
No, I'm not. I'm asking
Just the
for a
polling
list
location.
of the
Okay.
polling, of the signs for the polling location, the list that he was supposed to produce that he failed to produce.
Excuse
That
me, so
list.
what are you asking exactly? Because I think I misunderstood the question. If you're
List
asking about
of
the list
the-
of signs where the polling locations are, or a list of polling locations? Because you just said, did he
List
have a
of the
list?
signs. Where did he put the signs?
Oh, I never saw that list.
Okay, and were
I don't
you
believe there was
signed?
a list.
Okay, you don't believe there was a list of the
I
locations of the sign?
don't know if there was a list. That was
Okay.
not,
So
something I was involved
you
with.
were not named as the contact liaison for signs for Mr. Montoya's campaign.
I mean, I don't know what I was listed as, but I can tell you that I did the polling locations.
But you do not know that the city clerk had your name as the contact liaison. Is that correct?
No, the city clerk did not have her name
Okay.
as a liaison.
No, and there were no name for the contact liaison. Well, I'll ask
I
Mr.
don't know.
Montoya
that's
when
not
he
part of
actually winds
my,
up
are you
testifying.
asking me or are you
No.
asking
No, I was
David?
going to ask Mr. Montoya that. I'll
Okay,
wait.
I think this is my time to ask me the questions, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
I'm trying
Okay.
to. Thank you. Let's see, what else would I want to ask you? On the 5th of November, did you start taking signs down?
I flew out of town on the 5th of November. I was only there, like I mentioned, from October 22nd until November 5th.
So you didn't remove any signs that have been posted?
I did not remove signs.
Okay. I think that's all the questions.
Wait,
that
I did
have.
remove that sign that I told you that was like Miss Rivera, or somebody made a complaint, and I took down some of the ones that were complained about prior to the election.
Let me ask you a question about that one. Did you actually speak to Miss Rivera about that?
No,
Okay. I'd like to call Miss Rivera as a rebuttal witness at this point.
Not right now. You can
I
do it
assume
after.
it was Miss Rivera.
We can
who
do
made
it
the
after,
complaint.
after the.
Even though we're talking about what she just testified to.
Understand.
I actually think it was the other opponent that complained
Oh.
about that sign placement. Yeah, Councilwoman Fagali.
Okay, it was Councilwoman Fagali. So my apologies. It was not Rivera, Miss Rivera.
Okay,
I'm still going to want to call her as a rebuttal witness.
you can. Not right now, though. Okay, any redirect by Mr. Montoya? Meaning that
Um,
you get to ask questions about what was just asked on cross-examination. Any questions?
Joan, what is your thoughts on Miss Beninato and in terms of things that you've seen in your experience about people that complain and make ethics violations and stuff like that?
I'm
Is
going to
this
rule
Sorry,
that.
that's
is-
Rule
totally.
that out of order. Go on to the next question.
okay? What could you characterize how you felt while you were being asked these questions?
It felt a little bit antagonistic. I mean, like I answered the same question multiple times. I also believe there might be a little bit of a time delay, which is why I unintentionally interrupted her. I'm like obviously not in New Mexico right now. I'm in Washington, D.C. So when I was attempting to answer questions, I think sometimes like there was that point where like she was talking and I was talking at the same time, and that was totally unintentional. So I apologize for that.
First time candidates in terms of, you know, maybe using their personal credit cards to purchase things and stuff like that. Is that something that's unique that really happens?
This
or
is
it like
outside the scope of what
or
the
is it a-
witness is
I-
gonna
it's my
I-
witness.
testify to, and
I'm going to uphold the objection. This is outside the scope of cross-examination. You can only ask questions on redirect that were dealt with in cross.
Okay. Then, she asked questions about signs and the purchase of signs. So let me rephrase my question. Have you seen from time to time first-time candidates use their own personal credit cards to purchase things like signs?
Yes, but it's not a best practice. I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend it.
Now, would you consider that unethical and fraud, or would you consider that just a rookie mistake?
I'll allow it.
I think
I'm going to
that's more of
object
a
because
rookie
she's not an
mistake.
expert on Santa Fe code, and it is clearly in the code that you cannot use your personal finances. So it doesn't really matter what she thinks. It
I'm getting
matters
to
what's in
intent,
the
Mr.
code.
Chair. I'm getting into intent. So
I'm
Let
going
me
to
ask the que-
I'm going to let him answer it, but we'll take it for what it's worth.
yeah. So is this an honest? Do you think some things like this are an honest mistake or like a rookie mistake? I mean, what is your assessment as an expert in campaigns nationally and locally?
I would personally, I would never recommend somebody using the personal credit card, but at the city council level, when someone is first running for office, I think it's something that is clearly a misunderstanding because it's not like, why would you spend your personal money if you didn't think it would get reimbursed, right? When you have campaign money to pull from. I don't recommend anybody doing it even at the national level. It doesn't matter what city you're in, but I think it is a rookie mistake. And yeah, it's something that you would not make in your second run at office or your third. It's something that somebody who's really at the beginning stages of getting politically involved would make.
Okay. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.
Okay, can we excuse this witness? No objection?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Ms. Cato, thank you, and you're excused.
Does that mean that I'm free to leave the call?
You're free to leave. You can stay on if you want, but you're free to leave.
Okay,
Unless,
thank you.
let me, hang on a second. Does anybody on the board have a question for you? No. Okay, no questions from the board members. So it's your choice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Montoya, now, do you have you're the only other person who's sworn as a witness. Do you wish to testify?
Yeah, just a little bit. Some of the things that she said were really interesting.
Hang on,
from the expert witness.
hang on, Mr. Montoya. Yes,
Another question for Ms. Cato. Is there some way we can get her back on?
Ms. Cato? We just excused her.
I know, but there she is. Because she did testify as to Mr. Montoya's integrity and that she knew him for 14 years. So I'm wondering if you were aware that he has had state liens, tax liens put on his account in 2018 and 2022. Are you aware that he has a federal tax lien Are you aware
S-
that he has been sued several times, including for not payment of credit card? Just wondering what you know about his financial responsibility.
So I was not aware of that until I came to Santa Fe, and I read some attack pieces and that were online on social media. I think being an American right now is very difficult. Being an American
I'm sorry, I
before
just
was
asked you
also
to
very
answer the
difficult.
question.
Yeah, we can.
Well,
Didn't
it's
ask
part
for
of me
your
answering
opinion.
it.
No, I just asked
And
if you knew
so
about it.
I found out about it, and I think that, like many Americans, debt is very much a part of life. And I was saddened that he had to experience that. It's not, I think, where anybody would want. But I think it is kind of normal for many Americans right now
How
to
about
have
for
financial
candidates?
hardship.
How about for candidates? How many candidates do you know that have an outstanding federal tax lien? How many do you know that in the past 5 years have had 2 state tax liens? How many do you know that have been sued multiple times for failure to perform under a business contract or to pay their credit cards? How many of the candidates that you have worked for have had that kind of record?
They haven't. And the reason is because
No,
most of
thank
them
you.
are
That's all I need to
millionaires.
know. That's all I
And
need
if
to
we're
know.
going to
Thank
go
you.
ahead and
I'm going to
involve,
allow Mr. Montoya, given these questions, to perform an extra redirect on just those issues alone.
No, I mean, look,
No, you
they're
can
not
ask
things that I
questions.
hide. They're things.
You can ask questions, Mr. Montoya.
Okay, Joan.
If you wish to ask questions, Ms. Cato.
Yeah, Joan, what do you think the purpose of those questions were just now?
I think the purpose was to make you feel bad. I mean, I think that a lot of Americans have debt, and a lot of Americans have unfortunately met with financial hardship because of healthcare reasons, because of whatever it is, and have been unable to pay their credit card bills or something else. I think the majority of people I've worked for have upwards of $1 million. And I think we need more representation of people who have faced financial hardship and have been able to get out of it, so that our future generations can learn, and that other people that are running for office won't be discouraged from running for office because of like bad financial mistakes that they made at like earlier on in their life.
I have one more question for Ms.
Did
Cato,
you?
We're
please.
finished.
I'm not
We're
done
finished
yet.
with this witness.
I'm not done
That's
yet.
enough. That's enough. We're finished with this witness. You're excused, Ms. Cato. And Mr. Montoya, you still have the opportunity to testify.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Cato.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Montoya. And do you still need to get Ms. Rivera again as a rebuttal witness? Okay, fine. I just want to know if that was still going to happen. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Montoya. You can testify now.
Sure. Look, I made some honest mistakes in this campaign, and I'm willing to admit it, especially on using my personal finances to fund campaign things. But it's not something I hid. It's something that appeared in my campaign finance reporting. You know, every expenditure that I made was accounted for in there. Things like that she alleges, like when it comes to Casa Sena. Well, the owner of Casa Sena operates dinner for 2. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of allegations, but very little proof. I've always been someone that owns my behavior, my actions, and certainly, I know on the financial side, you know, especially using personal finances to fund campaigns is a mistake that I made, and I'll admit to that. But then again, it's not something that she's alleging in this campaign, in these allegations. You know, as to the signs, you know, the burden of proof is on her, whether or not I place those signs legally or illegally. For me, it's one of those things that I was very responsive during the election cycle. Whenever the clerk would send me an email about signs, I moved them promptly and let them know that they were moved, and that's in the discovery. So, you know, I mean, to me, this has been 9 months of harassment, and I just want to move on. So that's all I have to say. I'm done testifying.
Dr. Bernardo, your cross-examination.
Yeah, what about the loan? What about the $14,000 of loan?
Well,
that
I
you have
thought
on
that
your
maybe I would,
campaign?
no, I thought that maybe I would, you know, I would use that to and somehow recover some of the money that I spent personally, but it never really happened. I mean,
So
it's
but
it
you
was
were
a sunk
putting,
cost of
Let him finish, please.
it was a sunk cost of over $10,000. You know, not only am I still, you know, financially recovering from this campaign, you know, it just seems like you know, I'm still, like, no kidding, uh, reliving a lot of the harassment, a lot of the, you know, having my home broken into. This was a traumatic experience. And I think this whole proceeding has been traumatic. And I just want to move on with my life and move forward.
so could you explain, please, how you said you made yourself loans in 4 different periods, 4 different reports, while you were spending money also in those 4 different reports?
I can't. I don't have the reports in front of me, and I really don't remember. It's been 9 months. So sorry.
And so you refused to produce those receipts, and you refused to produce your bank statements when requested. Because you said it was part of
But
the
like I
discovery,
said, a
but
lot
it's
of
not
this,
part of the discovery.
Mr. Montoya,
like,
wait, go
I'm-
ahead.
I'm not
I
done
was
yet.
trying to answer. She asked me a question.
She hadn't finished.
I'm not
Let her
done yet.
finish. Okay.
You were requested to produce your bank account receipts or statements, and you were requested to produce your receipts, and you did not do that. You refused to do that. These are things that you were supposed to keep for 2 years, and yet you never produced them. You said it was burdensome. So how is it
I
that
said
you
that-
can sit here and tell us that you just made some little mistakes when you spent $14,000 of your personal money and you claim to have a $14,000 loan put into your campaign account? And you refuse to give us the bank statement showing the loan going into the campaign account.
like I said before, I never used the word little. I said this is my first time running. I made some mistakes in the game in doing that, and that's that. You know, maybe there was some confusion about producing the bank statements because of the very voluminous list of allegations that you made that were dismissed by the board. Maybe I thought that was part of it too. I don't know. It's just like I know that you've brought several ethics complaints against people, and so you're very experienced in this. This is the first time anything like this has happened to me, and first time I ever ran for anything. So yeah.
Oh, so you have never run for a position in the Democratic Party? Aren't you a ward chair?
Oh yeah, ward chair is appointed position. So
I thought you were elected as a ward chair. I thought
see,
people went and voted for you. I was asked to go vote for a ward chair recently.
yeah, I was the only one that ran. So
And
there wasn't an election.
weren't you also some kind of highly placed position in the Democratic Party? I'm sure you've been talking about that.
Yeah, but like I said, I've never run for public office. It's a
Okay.
different thing. It's completely different.
And what exactly were they, when you say things were dismissed, you mean the requests for discovery were denied by the chair?
Like I said, I don't know. I'm not an attorney like you.
But you can read and you can understand because you were running for office and you were willing to run the city. You were willing to take a position that gave you an enormous amount of responsibility, both fiscally and in other ways. And you're telling us now that you can't understand simple campaign rules, like you have to have a
I didn't say that either. I didn't say that either.
Do you have a list of your campaign signs?
No.
Where they were located?
I don't.
Did you submit a contact liaison for the clerk, for the city
I think
clerk?
I just used my name. Yeah,
where
that's the
was that
clerk.
listed in your paperwork that you submitted?
You'd have to ask the clerk.
Okay. I think, again, if you look at the EPA requests that I got, you will not see any contact liaison listed there. And that is why I asked, because it's
Like-
required. It's required.
Like I said,
And the
you'll have
word
to
required is. pretty
Ask
simple.
questions and then give that, you'll have a chance to make a closing statement.
Okay. Have you ever been accused of misusing funds before, such as mileage funds?
Yeah, I think that there was a $27 allegation that was dismissed after investigation by the VA IG.
So when you went from Washington, D.C. to pick up your children in Texas, and you claimed that as a business expense, or when you came here from Washington, D.C. on a vacation and you claimed mileage, are you saying that you only claimed $27?
Well, it was dismissed because along the way I made stops at VA hospitals. See, as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Intergovernmental Affairs, one of the big issues at the time was how long it would take veterans to travel. So I traveled from throughout rural areas to VA medical centers, had meetings along the way. There was an itinerary. There's a difference between an allegation and what was eventually proven to be valid travel. So
Okay, and then
that's
I
how
had
that was
another-
adjudicated.
I had another question for you. You did donate meat to the Democratic Party despite the campaign
I did
code
not.
saying you could not donate.
I did not.
donate
It
meat.
was a Labor Day picnic that was sponsored by AFSCME. It was not at the Democratic headquarters. It was at a public park, and
But you
lots of
donated
candidates
meat.
were.
Let
Let me
him
finish. You want me to
please.
finish?
Yeah, sure, please.
A lot of candidates brought their signs, handed out their signs, handed out their literature, handed out buttons, handed out lots of things that they spent their money on. What I was asked to do was, because barbecue is one of my hobbies, is to prepare a couple briskets and help serve those briskets. So I
You-
did that, and I wore a campaign shirt, and I had my campaign signs there. It was part of the campaign. It was part of me showing appreciation for labor, and giving away free barbecue to folks that's typical. That happens during every election and every campaign.
You claimed $200 as a donation
Yeah,
to the
that's two
to the
briskets.
to Democratic Party.
That's-
$200.
that's
Doesn't
two
matter how
briskets.
many it is. It's $200 that you donated. That's what it says on your finance report. Does it not, Mr. Montoya?
I don't know. I don't have the financial reports in front of me. I'm sure you have
And
them.
you don't remember donating that?
No, I don't. To me, it was barbecuing.
And what about the fundraiser that you had on your page here that I pulled up and showed you, where it said there was going to be a fundraiser at Casa Cena.
Yep.
It was paid for. You pay a cash bar and appetizers with a jazz band.
Right.
It did not say a dinner that was being catered for dinner for two. It said it was occurring
wasn't a
at
dinner.
Casa Cena.
Yeah, the Casa Cena was not open at the time, and dinner for two and Casa Cena are owned by the same people. And at the time, it was even though it was at Casa Cena, it was a dinner for two event because they weren't open yet. It's the same owner, same
So
company.
you had it at Casa Cena, and it was and people paid for their own drinks, and there was a bartender there giving out drinks from who provided the liquor for that? Who paid for
Oh,
that liquor?
You know, I think it was part of what I paid Casa Cena for.
You didn't pay them anything.
For the and people, it was not an open bar, it was a cash bar. People paid for the bar. I think I bought hors d'oeuvres, light hors d'oeuvres, if I recall correctly.
$1,000 worth of hors
I think so.
d'oeuvres?
I think so. I think that was for that and the space, because I had to rent the space as well.
But it doesn't say that. It says catering for a dinner. That's all it says.
Oh yeah, well then that's
$1,000
a
person. Excuse
then
me, I'm
that's a
not done
mistake.
yet. I'm not done yet.
Let her say, let-
But I'm answering your question.
$1,000 personal check for catering from dinner for two on 8th of October. Your fundraiser was advertised as an appetizers, not dinner, appetizers, and a jazz band on October 9th.
Yeah.
How much money did
I
you
had to
raise
rent
on
the space
October
too.
9th?
One question at a time.
I don't
please.
know. I don't know. Let me answer the
Nothing.
first question. First question. Let me finish. First, answer to the first question is yeah, absolutely. We had to rent the space and the hors d'oeuvres from Dinner for Two. And if that was misstated, then that was a mistake. I think, yeah, we did raise some money. I don't know how much, but yeah, we did.
Okay,
These
I
weren't
think,
free. You know, it was a fundraiser.
and did you ever provide the receipt for the sound system showing that you actually used it on the Fiestas parade?
I did. There's pictures of that, but you know, just like I said before in my explanation, that when you buy something, sometimes on a Saturday, the card's not processed till Sunday or Monday.
I asked
even.
you to produce the receipt.
Like I
Did you
said,
ever produce the receipt?
I'm just saying. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay.
But yeah,
So-
that's what happened, and you know, that's what it was used for.
So you didn't produce any of the receipts,
No,
any
I
kind of
didn't.
documentation, no bank statements to prove any of these things like that you made yourself a loan and then you continue to pay for yourself through personal credit card. So
Yeah.
you should have had then $16,000
Yeah,
in
but
your
you know what?
campaign account.
If you want to address these things, then you should file a separate complaint. The
I
complaint
have
that you have,
addressed them.
the complaint that you, and maybe we need to reread it to you, in terms of what exactly we're considering today, but that's not it.
It's campaign, it's use of personal
No,
funds.
you on specific things that you named in the
Specific
election.
things.
So
Okay,
yeah,
if you want me to file another complaint and the board wouldn't consider the fact that you committed fraud by pretending
I
that you
don't-
had a loan that you
I
didn't
didn't
have, I can
commit
file
any
another
fraud at all.
complaint.
You know, yeah,
you
go for
did.
it. You're welcome to.
I'd like
All
to
right.
call Miss Rivera as a rebuttal
Am I-
witness for
still-
Mr. Montoya.
Hang on,
yeah,
Ms.
no,
Montoya, hang on.
For
Okay.
Mr.
What
Montoya.
are you asking?
I want to call Miss Rivera as a rebuttal witness. for-
Is that going to conclude your cross-examination?
Yeah, it's going to conclude my cross-examination.
Okay. Before I allow that, I will allow it, but before I do, I want to clarify with Mr. Montoya, if you have any other statements you want to make by way of a redirect of yourself, in a sense, you have an opportunity to testify in response to the questions that were just asked. Do you wish
No,
to? Or did you say
No,
it
I
all?
don't. Yeah, I said it all. Like I said, I just want to move on with my life. You know?
Okay. We understood that.
Yeah.
Okay. So does that conclude the defense's case in terms of any witnesses, yourself and Ms. Cato?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You may now call a rebuttal witness.
Are you talking to me? Or
This
Ms.
is,
Beninato?
no, you're finished. This is,
okay, all right.
yeah, you're finished making your
Miss
presentation.
Rivera is going to talk about signs, and she's also going to talk about whether she showed up at the Democratic Party picnic.
Thank you. So just in responding to the witness from Mr. Montoya, who stated that signs were there one day and then they weren't one day, I wanted to bring up a personal experience that we had from my campaign perspective. There was an owner of a property on 1202 West Alameda, known previously as the feed bin. He contacted.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Known as what?
The feed bin.
The feed bin.
Feed bin. It's a vacant piece of property, at least it was at that time. He contacted me through my campaign saying he was looking forward to me, to voting for me, but he said that signs appeared on his property that he did not authorize. And he asked me to place my signs there. So I went to the property and found 4 David Montoya signs there without permission of the property owner. And I took his signs off and replaced them with mine. I did send David Montoya a text message, and I do still have it on my phone here. It was, the date of this was October 29th. And I did tell him that I removed the signs from that address because the property owner did not give him permission. And then I left his signs, Mr. Montoya's signs, at a specific place so that he could pick them up and collect them at his convenience. And I send him a picture of that. So my message there is some of the signs that went missing were because the property owners did not allow for those signs to be placed. And the rules clearly state that campaign signs for candidates and mayors can only be placed on private property with the permission of the property owner. So I wanted to bring that up. To answer Ms. Benenato's question, I did not attend the Labor Day picnic that was held together with the union folks. I did not attend that.
Hey, don't go away. Any cross-examination just on this rebuttal testimony, Mr. Montoya?
No, did I thank you and say thanks a lot? I'm sorry about that those signs were there. I think I did. I think I was pretty cordial about it.
Okay. Okay, that's it. No more questions. Okay.
No, other than, did you know that there were other candidates that were there, like Miss Fagali and all the candidates for mayor and even some candidates for statewide office? Did you know that?
I have no idea. I had an event of my
Okay.
own, so I don't know who
All
was
right.
there.
Okay, thank you. That's
Okay.
all.
Ms. Rivera's finished then. Okay.
Right. I had a question about that Labor Day picnics that the Democratic Party held. Again, this is
Question for whom?
for Mr. Montoya. How many of those people donated meat or some other goods to the Democratic Party that you know of?
I think AFSCME brought hot dogs and burgers and stuff.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking for the political candidates that came to that picnic. How many of them actually donated food?
I have no
drink?
idea. I have no
Okay,
idea.
thank you.
Okay, so I think we have completed testimony and appreciate both parties adhering to the time limits and being respectful. Let's conclude with, well, let me ask this. Is there any questions from the board that to address any other issues? Mr. Ross, would you want to ask any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, then let me then turn to any closing statements. We'll start with the complainant, and each of you may have well, up to 10 minutes for a closing argument if you wish. But you don't have to repeat yourself. I think anything you want to just use and use the time for summation.
Yes. I believe that I have definitively proved that Mr. Montoya's campaign or himself put up signs on public property. Some of the photographs that you saw were from November 3rd. They were not after the campaign. They were not stolen the night of the campaign and then put up later to make Mr. Montoya look bad. The ones at the Vargas Mall clearly are the kinds of signs that you can't remove and then replace someplace else. They stick on to something, you would tear them. He has admitted to having no list for the location of his signs, which he's required to do because how else would he be able to take them down and keep track of them? He has no way of showing that any of his signs were stolen, whether Ms. Cato wants to say they were or not, or wants to blame other candidates or not. She doesn't even know the locations of those signs or how many were taken and or on what date. So we have very vague allegations of signs being missing. And the photographs show that they were up before the election, including on commercial property like the feed bin, where they went up and they were not given permission. And again, it's hard to get permission from an out-of-state owner and an out-of-state management company. I know because I have tried to get the one at Trader Joe's, where Trader Joe's is, to clear the sidewalk that's actually on the street, right by the street, to make it safe, and it wasn't possible. It is not a campaign expense just because your truck's unsafe and you want to use it. That is, your truck is your personal property. The tires belong to the truck, the fuses belong to the truck, and it is personal property. And so you are supporting yourself and whatever lifestyle you want. In terms of campaign expenses, and again, everything that I'm going through is in my amended complaint, which I put a copy up here in case you don't have it, so you can look at it when you're in executive session. But all the meat that was bought, again, one rewarded his supporters in May, and the other one was for a come and canvas, and then I'll tell you where the barbecue is. Most of those were paid for with his personal money, not by the campaign itself. And it's really clear that you cannot use your personal money for your campaign expenses. It's not a mistake. When $100, $200, maybe that would be a mistake. It's not a mistake when you spend $14,000 of your personal money, which is half of your campaign expenditures, and you keep calling it campaign expenditures.
Let me interrupt you if I may, please.
Yes.
I just want to make sure the citation to that authority, your authority for that, which is the section of the code we're referring to.
Yes, and if you look at what I just gave you, the copy of the relevant code,
I see it.
I have underlined different parts that I am applying,
That specific issue about not using your own personal money.
Yes, you cannot mix your accounts. You cannot mix personal with the campaign. Everything has to run through the campaign account. You cannot accept donations and you cannot have spending before you have your campaign account. If you look at the first report, which was exhibit 21, number 21, exhibit 6, you will see that Mr. Montoya began spending his personal money on so-called campaign expenses in May, when he just began to get signatures to see if he could get nominated. So he spent money before he had his campaign account, and he didn't run everything through the campaign account. And that is the violation of the code that I'm looking at and what I'm asking you to do something about. Also, all those tangible items.
I'm sorry, I really hate to interrupt again.
Okay, go.
Could you just give me the citation to the actual section?
Let me look it up.
I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. I mean, section H1.
928C, no contribution and no expenditure shall be accepted or made by or on behalf of a candidate or political committee unless there is a depository and a campaign treasurer in office. You will see that Mr. Montoya's spending from his campaign account occurred sometime in the beginning or the middle of June. If you look at the April request that I gave you, he signed that on June 16th, and his spending begins on June 26th from his campaign account. So virtually everything before that was from his personal account and was too early. That is one violation there. He's supposed to maintain the receipts reflecting the purpose of each expenditure, day and method, all campaign bank accounts, records, including deposit slips and canceled checks. He's refused to produce those. It was just
like
too
to
burdensome,
object.
burdensome for
You'll have your chance, Mr.
Montoya to do that. And then you're supposed to preserve books of accounts, bills, receipts, and all other financial records for at least 2 years. That's on page 2, 929 F, 929 I. Says all contributions received shall be under the custody of the campaign treasurer, shall be segregated from and not commingled with personal funds of an individual, group, or political committee. Contributions shall be used exclusively to pay expenses incurred in furtherance of the candidate's campaign and shall not be used for any purpose, including candidate's personal living expenses or compensation to the candidate, a
You
contribution
don't have to
to
read
the
them.
campaign of another.
You don't have to
candidate.
read them. I was just asking for the citation.
Okay.
Okay.
And then on 929, number 2, It talks about if you have remaining unspent contributions or any tangible assets with a greater resale of $200, then you are supposed to distribute them in a specific way. You can look at that. I guess Mr. Montoya did not agree to limit his own contributions to 25% of what a political, publicly funded candidate was. Signage is 9215. You can't put them in public right away. You need to have owner's permission. You have to take them off within 5 days after the election. So it doesn't matter that Ms. Cato's experience is that signs are still up in other jurisdictions. Our jurisdiction is very specific, 5 days. And when you leave them up for 25 days afterwards, and you look at you look at the very few emails that the clerk produced for you, which were at the end of December. And let me again see if I can exactly find those for you. Yeah, number 18 on my list in the presentation. They were sent to him at the end of December, and he kept claiming that, oh, his signs were stolen. He didn't know where they were. Well, of course he didn't know where they were because he didn't have a list as required by law. And this is a simple requirement. A lot of these requirements are pretty simple. If you're working for a corporation, you don't mix your personal, you don't use your money to cover a corporation expense unless you put in some kind of voucher and you get paid for it. Like if you're working for the federal government, you go on a trip, you might pay for that. You submit it to whoever the accounting department, and then they repay you. There is a paper trail. There's no paper trail of the loan. And again, that is basically he's pretending he has a loan while in fact he is using his own personal assets to pay for half of his campaign expenses, half, not just a couple of $100 here or there, and $200, whether it's 2 briskets or 5 briskets, it doesn't matter. It's a donation to a political party. It is clearly excluded. And if Mr. Montoya can't understand that and can't read these rules, then I would suggest that he is not a good person to be in any political office ever. And it's my intention coming here was to create a level playing field for all candidates and to make sure that people are operating ethically and that we don't get somebody who's responsible for a $400 million budget, but is willing to, do shell games. And that's what happened here. So I hope that you will look at my suggested fines. I know they're quite high. I'm sure that you would cut them down, but I do think they need to be something more than a tiny little slap on the hand to get Mr. Montoya's attention, because he's ready to give you every excuse in the book. He didn't know, it was just a little mistake. He's a first time whatever. He's helped run the Democratic Party. He should know about these things. He should know what political campaigns are like. And so I'm not trying to harass him. I filed a complaint against Mr. Trujillo. As you know, we settled that. Mr. Montoya refused to settle. Thank you.
Mr. Montoya, now it's your turn to make any closing statements you wish to make.
Yeah, no. So look, like I said, with all her evidence, has got to show that I placed those signs illegally, and she hasn't really produced anything that shows that me or anybody in my campaign has placed signs illegally. In terms of the truck, the sound system, the gimbal stabilization for an iPhone, those are for political purposes, and anybody would admit that they are. As in terms of, she brought up our mediation, and I think it's really telling what her real motive here is. And one of the conditions that she wanted was that I would never seek political office again. That's her intent here. It's not to.
I'm objecting.
it's
Mediation's
not-
supposed to be confidential, not supposed to be mentioned here.
You just
In terms of exact terms, I just said that you would not come to an agreement. I did not.
I will not, okay, Mr. Montoya, you're speculating about the motives of this matter.
it was in her
And
offer.
there's no evidence of that, so you can't include that statement.
Okay, I take it back. But, As to those financial specific charges that she's made, all those things were for political purposes. If there's other violations that she alleges, other mistakes that I'll admit to, absolutely. But she should just file another charge and we'll start this process all over again if you think that we need to. But for the things she's alleging in her campaign, in her complaint, all of those articles were used for political purpose. Everything else is outside the scope of what we're trying to decide today. So, and that's it. I leave myself on the mercy of the board. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board? Anything that hasn't been addressed that you need to ask about? No? Okay, Mr. Ross, did you have any questions? All right, then I'm going to find that what's going on? All right, I'm gonna say that the evidence, sorry, I'm getting distracted. The evidence has been completed, and we will now move into executive session for the board with the staff to discuss.
Yeah, but that might be the timer, yeah.
What's that?
Michael Geen, can you dismiss that timer, please?
Okay. That was it. All right. But anyway, we're going to move into executive session so I can ring it once.
We need a motion, yeah, to go,
I guess we do, yes.
just for formality's sake, I move that the board go into executive session for deliberation.
Okay, we're unanimous on that. Well, let's do that on a roll call.
Member Miller,
Yes.
Member Sullivan, Chair Biederman.
Yes.
The motion to move into executive session has passed.
And the purpose of the executive session, I'll state for the record, is to deliberate on the evidence that's been presented and the law and decide whether violations have occurred. And if so, well, we will decide that actually out in open session. But we will discuss, just deliberate on this and then come back and make any decisions in an open meeting.
Can I